Your president is watching. America is watching. But more important, Godfather is watching. Make no mistake, there will be no fuck-ups. Marines around this world would give they left nuts to be where you are. Anybody not want to go? Marines, kill on 3. 1, 2, 3, kill!
Born to those who pledged their lives in sacred honor, was smiled upon by God and freed from chains and iron collar. He is held aloft on unity and by history revered. For preserving peace through strength, his wings now reach across 200 years. But for each of those in 1 year more, God has smiled upon the core. From the Barbary coast to the eastern sand, by sword, by gun, or by bare hand. So it's been and shall be weighed. Though many are born, few are made. Faithful always they shall remain. Dogs to loose when war is waged.
I am a warrior, and this is my
will end your life. I am a devil dog, I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song. Hell has no demon I won't overcome. Never forget that. I am a warrior and this is my song. I'll make the devil himself turn and run. I am a warrior and this is my song. Into the fire I will keep marching on. Hoorah! Marine Corps, get some! Take me to the brig so I can see the real Marines.
Good night, Chesney, wherever you are.
You're Marines, not all the communists in hell can overrun you. Welcome to Cold War Radio Live, ladies and gentlemen. Studio number 1, located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., your host. Deep down in the broadcast bunker, please follow me on Spreaker, like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22. The email to the show, scrtv@live.com. Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. The voicemail for people listening to the podcast, I had a couple tonight, but they weren't, I couldn't hear them. I couldn't understand. I think it was I don't know if they didn't call meaning to get the hotline or what, but it didn't work out. But 412-567-1460, if you're listening other than live and want to call, we will play it on the next show. The podcast is available just about anywhere. You can listen to it in the morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time on the 405media.com. It's streamed every day. You can catch it on iHeartRadio on demand, the Cold War Radio app, available in your app store for free, YouTube for now with captions. If you're using Twitter, the hashtag Cold War Radio will link you up with other listeners. And please go to SteelCityResistance.com, become a Cold War Radio patron, catch the research room, the video page, and if you'd like to write to the program, please write to Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 10433, 370 Castle Shannon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15234. All right, let's head west from the studio to the western boundaries of Allegheny County, and let's welcome Sal to the program. Hello, Sal.
Hey, Hutch. Hi, Stacy. How are you guys tonight?
Doing well, my friend, doing well. From the Empire City of the South, the ATL, let's welcome Stacy Rush to the program. Welcome back, Stacy.
Hey, Hutch Bailey Jr. and Sal. I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
All right. A lot of things going on. I mean, a lot of things going on right now. A lot of them are ridiculous. We started the show maybe 30 seconds late because we were talking about it in the green room there. I'm going to do something a little different. And I've done this before. I want to read a passage to start tonight's program. It's by Sundance over at the Conservative Treehouse. And I think it's going to wrap up how a lot of us feel. And I just want to read this so you know that there's millions of people that feel like you. This was posted yesterday, and it's called Stand. They've gone too far. Donald Trump's supporters are racist or uneducated or unenlightened or fill in the blank. This hate-filled sentiment is clear within the latest corrupt and targeted impeachment attack against the office of the president. Now the media narrative controllers are fully engaged, gleeful with impeachment bloodlust amid their broadcast brethren. The raw political corruption is now extreme. Do not look away. As we bear witness, anyone trying to convince us this entire assembly of our union is headed in the right direction, well, they might want to revisit their proximity to the 2020 election ballpark, because they're not just out of the city, they're also out of the same state the election ballpark is located in. Then again, the media know that. David Mamet had a famous saying, essentially, in order for Democrats, liberals, progressives et al. To continue their illogical belief systems, they have to pretend not to know a lot of things. By pretending not to know, there is no guilt, no actual connection to conscience. Denial of truth allows easier trespass. This hate-filled Democrat ideology relies on our willingness to accept their lies, falsehoods, and scripted presentations, and then demands we grant benefit amid their seeds of doubt. There's a level of anger far deeper and more consequential than expressed rage or visible behavior. It's called cold anger. Cold anger does not need to go to violence. For those who carry it, no conversation is needed when we meet. You cannot poll or measure it, specifically because most who carry it avoid discussion, and that decision has nothing whatsoever to do with any form of correctness. We watched the passage of Obamacare at 1:38 a.m. on the day before Christmas Eve in 2009. We watched the Senate, then the House, attempt passing amnesty in 2014. We know exactly how it passed, and we know exactly why it passed. We don't need to stand around talking about it. We know what lies hidden behind cloture and the uniparty schemes. We watched the 2009 $900+ billion stimulus bill being spent each year, every year, for 7 consecutive years. Omnibus, Porculus, QE1, QE2, bailouts, crony capitalism. We know exactly how this works, and we know exactly why this ruse is maintained. We don't need to stand around talking about it. We're beyond talking. We accept that the entire Senate voted to block President Trump's ability to use recess appointments in 2017, 2018, and 2019. Every single Democrat and Republican. Cold anger absorbs betrayal silently, often prudently. We've waited each year, every year, for 10 years to see a federal budget, only to be giving another omnibus spending bill by conservative politicians. We've watched the ridiculing of cops, the riots, and the lack of support for laws or their enforcement. We've been absorbing all that. We've been exposed to violence upon us by paid operatives of the organized DNC machine. We know the media trying to hide it doesn't change our level of information. Cold anger is not hatred. It is far more purposeful. We watched in 2012 as the Democrat Party thrice denied God during their convention, the doors to evil enterprise opened by official proclamation and request. Cold anger takes notice of the liars, even from a great distance, seemingly invisible to the mob. Cold anger will still hold open the door for the riot goer, mannerly. We've watched our borders being intentionally unsecured. We've watched Islamic terrorists slaughter Americans as our politicians proclaim their uncertainty of motive. We know exactly who they are and why they are doing it. We do not need to stand around discussing it. We're clear-eyed. Cold anger evidenced is more severe because it's more strategic and more purposeful. Eric Cantor's defeat, Matt Bevin's victory, Brexit, Donald Trump's highest vote tally in the history of presidential primaries, or President Trump's victory might aid your understanding. Cold anger does not gloat. It absorbs consistent vilification and ridicule as fuel. This sensibility does not want to exist. It is forced to exist in otherwise unwilling hosts. We also refuse to be destabilized by it. Transgender bathrooms are more important than border security. Illicit trade schemes, employment, and the standard of living in Vietnam and Southeast Asia are more important to Wall Street and D.C. lobbyists than the financial security of Youngstown, Ohio. We get it. We understand. We didn't create that reality. We are simply responding to it. The intelligence apparatus of our nation was weaponized against our candidate by those who controlled the levers of government. Now, with sanctimonious declarations, they dismiss accountability. Deliberate intent and prudence ensures that we avoid failure. The course is thoughtful vigilance. It is a strategy devoid of emotion. The media can call us anything they want. It really doesn't matter. We're far beyond the place where labels matter. Foolishness and betrayal of our nation have served to reveal dangers within our present condition. Misplaced corrective action, regardless of intent, is neither safe nor wise. We know exactly who Donald Trump is, and we also know what he is not. He is exactly what we need at this moment. He is a necessary, glorious bastard. He is our weapon. Cold anger is not driven to act in spite of itself. It drives a reckoning. When the well-attired leave the checkout line carrying steaks and shrimp using an EBT card, the door is still held open, yet notations necessarily embed. When the U.S. flags lay gleefully undefended, they do not lay unnoticed. When the stars and stripes are controversial, yet a foreign flag is honored, we are paying attention. When millionaire football players kneel down rather than honor our fallen soldiers and stand proud of our country, we see that. Check the NFL TV ratings. Take note. When a school community cannot openly pray, it does not mean the prayerful were absent. When a liar seems to win, it's not without observation. Many, more than the minority would like to admit, know the difference between science, clocks, and political agendas. Cold anger perceives deception the way the long-term battered absorb a blow in the hours prior to the pre-planned exit with purpose. A shield or cry of microaggression will provide no benefit nor quarter. Delicate sensibilities are dispatched like a feather in a hurricane. We are patient, but also purposeful. Pushed far enough, decisions are reached. And then just a quick blurb from where the author got some of these ideas. On the drive to and from the East Coast, I paid attention to the billboards and bumper stickers. Folks, the people in flyover country are pissed. From the guy that guides hunters to the mayors of towns and cities to state senators, congressmen, and governors who are voting to arrest and imprison federal law enforcement officials for enforcing federal gun laws that don't agree with state law. The political pendulum has never, in the history of humanity, stayed on one side of the swing. The backlash from overreach has always been proportionate to how far off-center it went before coming back. Right now, we're staring at a whole hell of a lot of the country, about 80 to 90% of the landmass, as well as over 50% of the population that is fed up. You really don't want those guys to decide that the only way to fix it is to burn it down and start over. And I'm going to stop there. It goes on a little bit further. You can go to the Conservative Treehouse and find it. It's called Stand. But I don't know, Stacy. That kind of talks a little bit about how the way I feel.
And you know, we were kind of talking about this a little bit before we got on the show, and it's interesting that the way that it's put, because I agree with what he's saying, and I think that it's one of the things that the polls don't get, you know, a lot of the time. I think that's why Trump was such a surprise, because I think people who don't necessarily pay that close attention to politics like we do, they do observe all of the things that you said, and they are fed up. I've noticed it when CNN has gone out a few times to places that were, you know, Union Democrat stronghold cities, and they get the shock of their lives when people are saying, no, my life's pretty good, I'm voting for Trump again. I mean, it's like they have no idea. So I feel like that is kind of what the Conservative Treehouse article was speaking to. What I am feeling right now is anger. You know, mine's not cold, mine is hot at the moment, but it does cool down once I have my spurt of the hot anger. And I feel like what's going on with Ukraine, the coordination with Schiff, and this quote unquote whistleblower, which really is just a rumor monger, that, you know, it's like Kavanaugh 2.0. I get fatigued. I get tired of defending Trump all the time, not because I don't want to defend him, but because it's exhausting, because he's under attack day in and day out. When they do this sort of thing, more and more people notice. And so I say have at it, because he's going to win in a landslide in 2020.
I think so too. Sal, let me finish the rest of this up. It's not that far, then I'll get your opinion. This man has faced opposition. It starts out, it's too late. This man has faced opposition that would overwhelm any other president. Our chosen president is constantly attacked by those holding a corrupt, conniving, and godless leftist ideology. It is our job now to stand with him firm on his behalf. To respond, we must engage as an insurgency. We must modify our disposition to think like an insurgent. Insurgencies have nothing to lose. If insurgents are not victorious, the system, which controls the dynamic, wins. However, if insurgents do nothing, the same system which controls the dynamic also wins. Do nothing, and we lose. Go to the mattresses, and we might win. The choice is ours. The awakened American middle-class insurgency, led by Donald Trump, is an existential threat to the professional political class and every entity who lives in and around the professional political class. Their entire political apparatus is threatened by our insurgency. The political industry, all of corrupt governance, is threatened by our support through Donald Trump. Decision time. You know why the entire apparatus is united against President Trump. You know why the corrupt Wall Street financial apparatus is united against President Trump. You know why every institutional department, every lobbyist, every K Street dweller, every career legislative member, staffer, and the various downstream economic benefactors, including the corporate media, all of it, all of the above, are against and united against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an existential threat to the existence of a corrupt D.C. system we have exposed to his disinfecting sunlight. Donald Trump is the existential threat to every entity who benefits from that corrupt and vile system. Global elites now stand with jaws agape in horror as they witness the result. The value of multi-billion-dollar contracts dispatched at our leisure. Trillion-dollar multinational trade deals full of scheme and graft left nothing more than tenuous propositions smashed asunder from the mere sound of our approach. The fundamental construct within decades of their united global efforts to tear at the very fabric of our USA is being eliminated. They too have nothing to lose. Their desperation becomes visible within their apoplexy, and they're damn sure displaying it. Do not look away. Throw aside the sense of discomfort and bear witness to the evil we oppose. Do not turn your eyes from the hatred focused in our direction. Stand firm amid the solace of our number and resolve to the task at hand. Those who oppose our efforts are merely vile parasites quivering as they stare into the cold anger furnace of righteousness. Who fuels that furnace, Sal? Us. Your thoughts?
I'm angry too, Stacy. I'm angry every time I see this bull, you know what, going on. And what we have to do, we have to be energized with that anger. We have to channel it for the good. We have to keep doing our thing. I think sometimes we have to bite our tongues, speak out, and speak the truth. But we have to channel that anger into something good. And that good is not supporting we know who, and the same thing, we know who to support. So, Hutch, Stacy, we need to keep on getting the word out there. He's a fallible person. He's not going to be perfect, but he's far better than the alternative that we've had for a long time in DC. That's all about this country club mentality. He's down there to break up the system. I hate to use the term, but I will, drain the swamp and rattle things around. And people just don't like it. And this is the result of all that, this scandal, that scandal. It's all bull crap and noise. That's all it is, to rattle him, because he's on a mission. He's on a mission to try to save this democracy, if it's possible. I don't know. It could be too late. It may be too late, but let's channel that anger into something good.
No, I agree, and I think a lot of people are energized. As you said, Stacy, I believe one of you said it in the pre-show, or it might even have been on the show. It all blends together sometimes. But about the fundraising, you look at the fundraising, and that's $125 million in how many days? I mean, and that's from small donors. I mean, that's and you have some real fissures occurring right now. I'm sure you guys noticed the resistance by normally straight Democrat organizations to Elizabeth Warren. That's a big deal right there. I mean, Facebook said they're going to sue her if she becomes president.
Yeah, and I think, what I think that spells, though, is I'm just waiting for Hillary Clinton to put her name back in the ring. Now that Joe's not going to recover from this.
Neither is Bernie. Neither is Bernie. They're both done.
Yeah, they are. Bernie having the heart issue, I hate to say, is just going to bring up the entire situation of his age and physicality, and people aren't going to be comfortable with that.
Aside from his straight-out communist views. But
Well, but he actually won the Democratic nomination last time.
Yeah.
And if he didn't
the Communist Party nomination. That's what they are.
And if he didn't have so many crazies in with him again, I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to pull it out, but he will not recover from his heart issue, although I do wish him well, and I hope he recovers.
I do, too. I hope he's resting well in his hospital suite in Havana. That's where he is,
in
right?
In Cuba, yeah, that's great. That's just fantastic. And
that's right. That's Rush, man. That's not me.
But I think what this does then is Elizabeth Warren becomes the top person right now. She's got the momentum, and what does that do? What that does is you're going to have the Wall Street fat cats and every globalist out there who doesn't want, what's going to come to pass with Barr's investigation to come out. And I think they're going to, really incent her to get into the race in 2020. And I think that might be what Democrats think is their only hope to beat Donald Trump, and that is she was robbed. And if we get her back into the race, then it's her time, and they think that they're going to win. So I suspect this is going to happen any day now. Yeah,
I do too. And another thing that'll do is it'll clear the field. There's some of the second and third dairy candidates that are raising millions of dollars too. St. Pete's one of them. And who else did I see? Cory Booker raised some money too. Millions. So we'll have to see. It's going to be interesting, but I think, man, I don't see how anybody could support Warren. Just the way she talks. She's so creepy to me. When I listen to her tone and her, the rhythm of the way she talks, it's creepy, man. It's like, no, she's not thinking it. She's reading it.
My guess is that you're going to have kind of a fusion GPS situation occur with Elizabeth Warren. I think they're going to try and take her out in the primary.
I do too.
Would be my guess, because they know that she has a chance. And I will tell you this: yes, she is. I don't like listening to her voice, and obviously, you guys know I disagree with her policies wholeheartedly. But she's a woman, just like Barack was black, and it's a very powerful. And not to mention, the first gay president. I'm just kidding. But it's just,
You're just serious.
It's a very powerful thing for the stupid, and we have plenty of stupid in this country.
We do. Sal? All right, hold on. I want to. Stacy, I was hoping you were on the show the other night when I got this clip. So this is just for you, because the audience has heard it already, but I know that you'll get a kick out of it.
Complaint, the whistleblower alleges that immediately after the president's call with the president of Ukraine on July 25, White House lawyers moved quickly to direct White House officials to move electronic transcripts from one computer system where it was normally stored to a secret classified information system. Is that right?
Congresswoman, excuse me, sir, I apologize. Congressman,
is that what was alleged in the whistleblower complaint?
Congressman,
complaint, the whistleblower alleges.
I don't know if you heard that, but I had to make sure that you did if you didn't.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. You're quite welcome. Sal, we're going to go to a guy, I think he's a rising star. They tried to take him out a couple times, but I think that the new face or the new resume of somebody that is going to carry this baton after 2024 is going to have to be somebody that's at least somewhat abrasive and righteous, and I think Stephen Miller is both. I don't know a lot about him, but I like watching him under fire. And I also like his ability to handle an interview without getting crushed. Let's listen to Steve Miller.
With us tonight, Senior Policy Advisor for the President, Stephen Miller. Stephen, good to have you with us, and what a week it has been. Let's start with a backdrop for this, if I may, and that is suddenly we are hearing from Schumer, from Pelosi, and several others that they want to negotiate with the president and are ready to sit down and talk about USMCA, gun control, you name it, apparently. They seem to think they suddenly have the upper hand with the president. Your reaction?
Well, I do agree that Senate Democrats are probably terrified about the cliff they're being driven over by Pelosi and the radical election nullifying Democrats in the House of Representatives. And so I don't doubt that's the case. But let's also be clear what the even deeper fear is. The deepest fear of all is the deep state is terrified of being exposed, Lou. What we have right now is a situation in which the Attorney General of the United States and John Durham are going to get to the bottom of what really happened in 2016. And we're going to find out what went on and what was done to try and sabotage this president and try to sabotage this administration. And that has the deep state and their Democrat allies terrified.
And terrified, it seems, of what is a highly unusual effort at what is a bizarre plot at best, not even the stuff of fiction because it is so implausible. But the idea that they would make much of the president asking a foreign leader to meet or talk with his attorney general and to accommodate the law enforcement and national security investigative needs of this country, an ally of Ukraine, on what basis would that be irregular?
Well, I have some breaking news, Lou. The President of the United States is the nation's highest-ranking law enforcement officer. You know, it seems like some of our Democrats need a civics lesson. And just because Joe Biden may be running for president doesn't mean that he's immune from scrutiny. It doesn't mean that his family is immune from scrutiny for corrupt behavior in the Ukraine and in China. And the reality is that the President of the United States is doing the American people a profound service by getting to the bottom of corruption in Ukraine. And all Americans have a right to know how our taxpayer dollars are being spent and whether former high-ranking officials engaged in corrupt behavior and whether or not Ukraine or anyone in Ukraine engaged in interference in 2016.
There is, as I suggested at the outset, some concern that the president, in the face of this onslaught, no matter how rickety a contraption this so-called impeachment inquiry is being asked by the Dems in, if you will, a proffer, perhaps as a bribe, or just outright intimidation to take up gun control, to take up various issues and legislation that they've had absolutely no interest in accommodating him previously. This is a sordid and tasteless sort of initiative, don't you think, on the part of the radical Dems?
Lou, the Democrats have truly no depth to which they will not sink in their craven pursuit of power. And that's what this is all about, Lou, right? It's about power. You know, you've talked about these issues for so many years on your show. You've talked about the betrayal of the American worker because of offshoring, outsourcing, and misguided trade deals. You've talked about the betrayal of American families because of open border policies and misguided foreign policies. The president stood up in 2016 and said, enough. I'm putting a stop to the selling out, the betrayal, and even the crucifying of the American middle class in this country. And they are trying to say, we're not going to let the American people have the leadership and have the government that they want. And this president is standing in the breach and saying he's going to fight for the American worker.
And Sal, when he says the outsourcing and offshoring, ladies and gentlemen, please understand and make sure that you know that that was Republicans that did that. A large part of it. The globalists are the ones that shifted our middle-class manufacturing apparatus overseas to the east and I don't mean to the East Coast. So I wonder how these people, how it can be that it's more important that the president was talking to the president of Ukraine about eliminating corruption and eliminating a very corrupt family, that just because he's running for president, all that part goes away. Like, it's okay if he would run and become elected, but he's a felon.
Well, plain and simple, if he didn't ask the question, he would be a dereliction of his own duty as president. So he has an obligation to do that no matter what. So all this, but here's the catch here. That isn't being told to the American public. The press is conveniently leaving that out. And there was no quid pro quo. There was no bribe. There's not even an inkling of any criminal element in that call other than, hey, there could be something there. We're not going to hold back money. You're going to get your money, but we want to know what happened. Hey, maybe there was no crime. Maybe they were just foolish enough to hire a crackhead. I don't know. It certainly is. It certainly is possible.
You drew a very important distinction that these geniuses in the media, including at Fox, can't seem to get past. What the president was talking about with the president of Ukraine was not about the 2020 election. He was talking about what happened in the 2016 election. This is a guy that is going to get payback for that coup attempt. That's continuing. It's ongoing right now. It hasn't stopped.
It's nonstop. It's going on. It's the next whatever hocus pocus that they've cooked up, and we got him this time, and we want to see other calls. And, I call it hocus pocus, or making up a new thing.
It's going to come out.
We got him.
It's going to come out that the only reason, Stacy, that we've been on this path for 3 years, and I'm not foolish. I know that if it wouldn't have been this, they'd have pulled out another flavor. But this time, you'll remember back at the DNC hack of their servers during the convention season in 2016, and there was only one entity that said that the DNC servers were hacked by Russia. Only one, and that was CrowdStrike, a Ukraine-based company that is at the center of all this and probably at the center of the president's query to the president of Ukraine. I mean, it's a perfectly normal thing. And what I'm waiting for, because this is all going to come out. One way or another, all of this is going to come out. I mean, how does Sebastian Gorka get on a flight with the Secretary of State to go to Italy, and he's involved in whatever's going on over there? They're starting to build another combat team here. I'm telling you, and Seb's going to be in it.
Yeah. I find this entire situation so frustrating, and that is that the media continues to ignore so many great, juicy stories, right? I mean, we're supposed to have a free press. This is all about corruption. But because it's corruption on their side of the aisle, they have no intellectual curiosity about it whatsoever. And I find myself screaming like Jake Tapper at the most. If they spent half as much time on Spygate and CrowdStrike and Ukraine and Italy and everything that happened to the Trump administration and to Trump and his team prior to, he being elected, it would be amazing how much information that we would have. But instead, they are repeating the same talking points on every single major news media station, like you said, including Fox News, as if this whistleblower has any credibility at all, as if this Ukraine phone call has any reason that Trump should be impeached at all, because as you said, he was asking about the 2016 election. And here's the other thing, though, Hutch. If you think this is the last thing that's going to happen, you're crazy.
Right.
And that's why I hope Trump is speeding up this Bill Barr investigation And I hope indictments are going to be dropping at some point in the near future, because they're panicked. They are absolutely 100% panicked. And I guarantee you there are more coordinated efforts. I don't know if you saw today a news report about him saying that he wanted to have crocodiles and
it's unreal. It's unbelievable.
Fences that would electrocute you, electric fences.
I won't tell you what I really think about those ideas, but keep on talking.
I know, but you know what? I was like, why not? If you're not going to build the freaking wall, let's talk about
but
some other ways.
Where did they get that? Where did they? Do you guys remember where that came from?
Washington. It's a book by two.
I mean the whole moat thing and the whole that was Herman Cain.
Oh, was it really?
Remember back in they hammered him for it, and they just brought that back up. One of these things that I'm starting to realize is how damn stupid these Democrats are.
Well, and I was thinking the same thing, Trump.
That's cool.
So I was like, could they be dumber? Could they not continue to have the same playbook over and over again? So now their racist, homophobe, misogynist playbook that they bring up every single election cycle doesn't seem to be working for them this time.
Wait till you hear this next clip.
So now they're going to start with the let's do Kavanaugh 2.0, where we're going to coordinate with a witness and we're going to bring it up last minute and act like we had no idea, even though we've had this for months. I mean, they're so transparent. You can see right through it. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And I'm going to steal a line from someone. And this is what the media wants. They want a story, not the story. So they put out stories, but it's just little snippets of what stories are, and a lot of them are just downright wrong, factually wrong, to make up a story, and it's not the story. So just keep that in mind. Everyone should keep that in mind when you watch the news. They're not giving you. They may give you a fact set, but it's a snippet of the whole entire picture. Just like go ahead, Hutch.
And it's all designed. I'm starting to think what's going on here, especially after I saw Sebastian Gorka with Pompeo. And I've heard some other stories about other foreign leaders that are being talked to. I've heard that this entire impeachment effort, and if you look at how shoddy it is, it would make sense that all it is a smoke screen because some of this reality is getting ready to come out. And I'll tell you, I was listening to Glenn Beck today. That's like the second time, man. I've listened to him in a long time. And he's having a special tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern time, and it's going to be free, and it's going to be on all platforms, on Facebook, on Blaze TV, everywhere. It's going to be free. And the big story is not Ukraine. Ukraine is not the story that the Democrats are terrified of, although they are afraid. It's China. When you look at what the Bidens did in China, that starts to really get, if what Glenn Beck was reporting today is true, Hunter Biden, his company, had a lot to do with tools and machinery and machining techniques and procedures for equipment that has dual military/civilian use. Now, you think about that for a while, and you think back to President Bill Clinton and Commerce Secretary Brown and how the intercontinental ballistic missile gyroscope navigation technology, say that 3 times, and there's no notes in front of you, was given to China by taking it away from the authority of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and putting it in the Commerce Department, the U.S. Department of Commerce, which the Commerce Secretary was the guy that was killed in a plane wreck, and had 3 bullet holes in the back of his head. But you look at this, China and Biden is much bigger than Ukraine, and it's I was saying this earlier, but it wasn't the right time. I want to see the reaction of the Brett Baers and the Jake Tappers. And I don't know if you saw George Stephanopoulos defending the Bidens the other day, but this is going to be epic. to watch this. It really is. I mean, I can foresee news agencies shutting down. I mean, I don't see how they defend this. And they're going in another direction now. Now, and you've heard this for about a year, maybe more. They're really going anti-white. I want you to listen to an MSNBC panel that there's nobody white on the panel. Let's put it that way. And I want you to hear what they're reporting.
This was not the first time the president has suggested that if things do not go the way he likes, if he is not allowed to govern or lead as he sees fit, that there could be an uprising. And his words infer that it could be led by his supporters. And there's been some concern about that because this has been interpreted as perhaps the president affirming or encouraging those who feel victimized and disrespected to rise up and act out and push back, even if violently, by any means necessary.
The incitement to violence that underlies much of what the president has been saying. I mean, we're in the 30th anniversary year now of Tiananmen Square, a moment which we're seeing replayed out on the streets today, when a government cracked down on people protesting. And I'm concerned personally that if the president continues this rhetoric, it might start drawing people to Washington. It might start drawing heavily armed people to the National Mall to protect their president, to protect their interest. And that's a recipe for disaster.
You think that some of this president's rhetoric could be seen as a call to action, a call to arms even?
Entirely possible to think of a scenario where President Trump simply refuses to accept the will of the Senate or of the electorate in 2020 and begins to ask his supporters to come rally to his side.
Oh, that's a scary thought on a number of levels.
I mean, this is a national news organization, Stacy. This is criminal. I mean, it really is. Not to say that that could never happen, but I don't see that in the future anytime, not the near future.
Well, I mean, I can't even. As far as the news organizations are concerned, you were like, how are they going to react when China information comes out? The same exact way that they're doing with this, creating a bunch of false BS to try and divert you into another area, or they'll just continue to act as if nothing exists. I mean, I truly do not believe that we have any news organizations, including Fox News. There's nothing. And so this doesn't surprise me. It is just par for the freaking course.
You know, I thought it was me. I thought it was me because I was on this Fox News thing early. And, I'm thinking, man, is it just me? Am I looking for a Donald Trump echo chamber? And I'm not.
No, me neither.
But I'm starting to hear a whole lot of other people, including Rush Limbaugh, Joe Pags, I heard say it today. These people are turning Fox off. I feel bad for some of the good journalists at Fox News, like Catherine Herridge. There's other ones there that are irreplaceable in our fight against the left. And I see Brett Baer carrying the water sometimes. It's like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. I think he's trying to stay employed just like Martha McCallum is.
But I tell
you what I think. I think what's going to happen, though, is once Trump is out of office, which won't be until 2024, we all know that, or after 2024, I think he's going to start up his own
Trump
Fox
TV.
News.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the end goal, and I think that's what we'll be seeing.
And we might not be seeing it. We might be reporting it. You never know
exactly
what's going to happen. But now he is fighting back. He is the glorious bastard that they talked about, that Sundance talked about. Let's listen to the president at a news conference, or a presser.
Not one story from the fake news. I didn't see Steve write it. I didn't see you write it. I didn't see anybody write it. So let me just tell you, just to finish, Nancy Pelosi and Shifty Shift, who should resign in disgrace, by the way, Harry Nadler and all of them, it's a disgrace what's going on. And we should be focused on making America great again and keeping America great, because that's what we have to do. And when I look at that parade with military and millions of people and everything else, we better get smart. We better start focusing on the right things, because what they did with this nonsense, think of it. You have a perfect conversation with a president of another country, Ukraine in this case. And they try and say, oh, let's impeach him. They've been trying to impeach me from the day I got elected. I've been going through this for 3 years. They've been trying to impeach me from the day I got elected. And you know what? They failed. And this is the easiest one of all, because this one is based on one conversation. What about Obama's conversation with the president of Russia, where he says, hey, tell Vlad I'll talk to him after the election's over. I'll talk to him. Nobody reports that, right? That stuff you should report. But you people should be ashamed of yourself. We have the most dishonest that you can imagine, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Okay, I think I've answered most of your questions. What do you think?
Finnish media here. Finland is the happiest country in the world.
Finland is a happy country.
What can you learn? What can you learn from Finland?
Well, if you got rid of Pelosi and you got rid of Shifty Schiff.
About that.
Finland is a happy country. He's a happy leader, too. No Republicans have raised concerns.
About the whistleblower, that the identity of the whistleblower should be protected.
I don't care. Look, I think a whistleblower should be protected if the whistleblower's legitimate. But when the whistleblower makes a big report on the conversation I had with a president of Ukraine, and it was a great conversation. We talked mostly about congratulations on your win. We talked about corruption, and we're really referring mostly to 2016, because what the Democrats did in 2016 was corrupt. And let's see what happens. They're more concerned with that than they are with me and impeachment. They're trying to hide what maybe is coming. I let our great, if you look, I let our great law enforcement take care of it. Okay. Attorney General Barr.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope so. I got a little bit of a bulletin from the chat room. Apparently, RSBN, Right Side Broadcasting Network, I was with them briefly with Wayne Dupree and also by myself at some rallies. And apparently YouTube has cut their streaming capability. So if anybody wants to look into that, I would hope that I know that Joe has contacts in the, I mean, at least he did in the campaign. I don't know if they're still there, but hopefully the government learns about that. That's criminal, Stacy. I mean, that's something that they don't even, well, no, they have had commentary lately. They had their people there, but
it's unbelievable to me what these, tech companies are doing to silence conservative voices. And with them in particular, and many others, actually, this is how they make their living. It's how they make their living. They're not violating any policies of YouTube. And now all of a sudden they're not allowed to live stream anymore, and YouTube apparently hasn't responded to them as of yet. So I find it really disturbing what's going on in very many ways. And I'll tell you, you think about this. If there were not alternative forms of media, think of everything. They would have already gotten rid of President Trump.
Oh, you're right. And that's, I'll tell you, there's times when I don't feel like coming on into the studio, and I do it anyway because I mean, obviously we're not Fox News caliber as far as audience goes, but man, you can't stop.
No,
you got to keep going.
You have to, and we all have to, because they are trying their damnedest to silence us. And the reason, never forget, the reason that they're trying to do it is because of the money and power. And you want to know why these Republicans aren't standing up, many of them, and defending Trump like they should be, like his bases, like the American people are over this Ukraine thing, as well as many other things. It's because they don't want anything to change. They go to Congress, they get rich off of our backs, they tell you what you want to hear every 2 to 4 years, and then they blame the other side when something doesn't get done.
Right.
And
where's Senator Richard Burr? They're chairman of every committee in the Senate. Where are they? Lindsey Graham, you talk a big deal. Where's the paper?
Yeah. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It's all
being done
joke.
and nothing will be done. And so thank God for new media.
Yeah.
And, we have to continue on, because if we didn't have it, we wouldn't know half the things that we know.
You're
And
right.
I love how they love to trash people who break stories. But, this Paul Sperry guy, and I know he's a legit reporter, but, he was talking 6 days ago about Schiff knowing about this, whistleblower going to him first. And no one ever pays attention. No one ever pays attention until they know it's going to come out. And then people like the New York Times try and come to Adam's defense by saying, oh, the whistleblower was so very, very worried, and he wanted to make sure his message got out about how bad man Trump, made a bad phone call with the Ukrainian leader, so he had to go to Schiff. It's such BS.
It is.
And I'm just furious with it.
And you look at some of the partners in with Hunter Biden and John Kerry's stepson. They never mention Whitey Bulger's nephew that's in there, organized crime.
Yeah.
And I just want to, when you look at what's going on and you look at everything that they've tried, and they're going to escalate even more. We're going to go into a violent phase here. It is. I want you to listen to a clip, a final clip for you, Stacy. You're going to be leaving at the top of the hour, but I want to get your opinion on this. Now, you're going to hear Nancy Pelosi flailing around, but toward the end of the clip, I want you to hear what she says, and it's a little bit unnerving to me.
Bill over to the Senate, H.R. 8 and H.R. 1112, two pieces of legislation that will save the most lives, and that I would hope that whatever he was talking about was very close to that. Oh, yes, you're going to be very pleased. That's the last I've heard of that. That then point, that is when the president segued into the telephone call in which he admitted that this call took place and that what happened was perfect. I didn't say, I said, Mr. President, it's not perfect, it's wrong. But your admission to what has now been in the public domain informs the timing of how we go forward. Again, that was the last I heard from them. Let me just say on gun violence prevention, we're not going away until we get legislation signed into law that protects our children. I said to the president on another occasion, on the 200th day of it, Chuck Schumer and I called the president on that. That was a couple of Sundays ago. I think like the 15th of September, maybe 2.5 weeks ago. That was the 200th day since we sent over H.R. 8. And I said to the president, I pray for you and the safety of you and your family. And I hope that God will give you an illumination, an enlightenment to pray, to work for the safety of other families in our country. So again, the most recent.
So that's a little weird, Stacy. I pray for the safety of you and your family. When I hear something like that, and I look at the situation that we're in, and I think back on John F. Kennedy, and I think back on Jeffrey Epstein, and 30 people with the Clintons, I'm thinking, thank God Donald Trump is who he is. Because I'm sure he's got 007 security, not just a Secret Service.
Yeah, and I think, it's interesting you say that. I was just having a conversation with one of my sources in D.C. about that very thing, about my concern for him. Because of, who he's going up against, how, it's not just our intel community, it's the powerful all over the world. And I do pray for his safety.
And criminals and pedophiles and everything else.
Absolutely, 100%. He's going after everything, and he's going after all of them. He is the right man for this job, and I will continue to pray for him. Do I believe that Nancy Pelosi is? No, but I hear your concern there, and I just happened to be having that conversation with somebody in D.C. today about that very thing.
I heard that, and I was like, wow, man, this is ridiculous. They need to get a task force, and somebody needs to go snatch George Soros off the street and bury him under the jail. I don't care if it's legal. I don't care. At this point, this is to a point that it's. I don't know what would happen if I'm not even going to think about it. Let's go to Ken and King George. Hello, Ken.
Hey, everybody. How we doing on this fine Wednesday evening?
Hump day.
I love it. Okay, last week Nancy Pelosi, the same crazy woman, was wrapping herself in the Constitution.
Ken, hold up for a second. I'm looking at the clock and I'm screwing up here. Stacy, thanks for coming on. How can people get in touch with you?
And thank you, Hutch and Ken. It's good of you to call. Glad to hear from you. You guys can most easily reach me on Twitter at DiscoveringMe40, America First Stacy, and I will be back next Wednesday. Look forward to it, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Stacy.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for coming on, Stacy.
Ken, go ahead.
So last week, she's wrapping herself around the Constitution, right, which they despise, because they know that if anybody knows anything about the Constitution, it limits what they can do to us as citizens who elect them to be there in the first place. And now this week, she's wrapping herself in religion, the other thing that they hate, because you're supposed to pray to, the climate change God, and we can slow the rise of the oceans. You just got to pay more taxes and vote for us.
Right.
We can stop all of it. And it's.
I can't believe so many people fall for it. I mean, it's emotional. I mean, you look at the way they word things, and you heard her. I'm not going anywhere until you protect the lives of our children. How can anybody be against that?
But our governor out here, and Jack can attest to this on Friday, he's all in support of this infanticide thing. And we even have a representative in our state house that says, it's okay, kill the baby up until the time of dilation. And I'm like, really? That's called murder.
Hell, the governor had him out on the table.
Yeah. I mean, it's just insane. And now, to go even a step further, we've got a police officer who works up here in Fairfax County. I'm not sure, they haven't put out his name or anything, but he's on paid leave right now because there was a car accident in Fairfax County.
Yeah, if you hold that thought, we're going to do a segment on that.
Okay.
We got a whole segment with a clip and everything. You're right. That's a bad story, but I gotta do a couple other things first. But yeah, Fairfax County. I mean, can you imagine living there, and you're paying taxes, and your police chief is reprimanding officers because they don't. I mean, he's basically advocating for leaving criminals on your street if you live there.
It's okay to break the law. Go ahead and break it. Do what you want to do. You don't matter as a citizen. You don't matter, Ken. You don't. Your rights are below them.
Below illegal aliens, yeah.
Well, that's why we have a Second Amendment.
That's true. That is true.
That's why we can also talk about it here, and we need to let people know just how crazy this is. How the hell can someone who comes into this country illegally, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about it, and have more rights than we have?
And they do.
It is crazy. It is crazy. It not only is it crazy, it's illegal. If you're not supposed to be here, get out.
You just reminded me of something that's not in the notes, but I heard a report tonight, Ken, that Representative Rashida Tlaib from Michiganistan said that, you've heard of this new facial recognition technology, which has been around for a while, but they're starting to perfect it.
Yeah.
She said the only people that should be able to operate that equipment are black people, because everybody else thinks that all black people look alike. I'm thinking that's the Palestinian gift that we get from our diversity right there. It's unbelievable.
Well, and that's the thing, they're talking about, Fairfax County is, diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. And they keep pushing this. The next time I hear the word diversity, I'm about to throw up.
I'll tell you, want to throw up, just go down the road and just start turning in Fairfax or Prince George's County or wherever, or D.C., and just start turning your radio dial and see how many stations are non-English. It's nuts, especially in D.C.
I mean, well, out here in the driveway, I threw a little 19-inch TV in the horse trailer, and I could pick up just with a regular antenna on top of the roof. If I'm sitting in the right position, I could pick up, I think, 20 stations, maybe. 3 of them are like Home Shopping Network. I don't want to watch that crap. And the other 5 or 6, the first one that pops up is just a straight-up Spanish station. And the only one that was actually worth its weight in gold, that sometimes I can pick it up, sometimes I can't, over, just a normal antenna, is a station called Get TV. And they play all the old 70s sitcom stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like Sanford and Son. And I enjoy it. And now that I know what when I was a kid watching, All in the Family, I didn't quite get Archie Bunker, but I watch it now, it is freaking hilarious.
It is.
But but it's just insane that these kids nowadays don't get this. I mean, I talked to my stepson yesterday. I'm like, so who are you voting for at-large supervisor? Well, I don't know. I said, do you know who's even running? I said, because that person's going to affect your life more than President Trump will.
See, that's the game, though. That's the game, and they know it. That's why the Democrats want to lower the voting age to 16. That's why Andrew Breitbart came out of Tulane and said the default position of anybody graduating from this place is liberal. It's all designed that way. I mean, you have to.
Well, they've already done that in D.C. That 16-year-olds can vote for local elections because they pay taxes.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
All right, Ken, thanks for calling, man. I got to move on, brother. Enjoy your calls.
All right. Thanks, sir.
See ya. All right. Let me just get a little bit of administrative stuff out of the way that I forgot about at the beginning of the program. Donations to get Mona to the Values Voter Summit are ended. We have reached our goal. We have an outstanding warrior amongst us that has provided the opportunity for her to do that. We are at $2,080 we have for CPAC. So thank you very much. Mona will be proceeding to the Omni Hotel in Washington, D.C. We will get coverage from the Values Voter Summit, which is 11 to 13 or 11 to 14 October. So it's coming up in a couple weeks. That'll be good. And we are well on our way to going to CPAC. I haven't set a ceiling for that yet. I want to see how this goes. I want to talk to the communications director at CPAC. And we also have an in at CPAC if we need anything there. Let's put it that way. So I want to see how many media credentials that we can get, because when we go there, I mean, I get the same media credentials that Brett Baer gets. It's the same thing. And they don't give them out like candy. They check you out. And I've been there 3 or 4 times already, and so are some of the other people. So it'll work out, I'm sure. But thank you very much. I just want everybody to know that. I sent that to the patrons yesterday and the staff. So that is good stuff right there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Really, it's fantastic.
It is. It's unbelievable, man. And it says a lot about what the country's going through, man. I mean, there's people out there that luckily are blessed with resources, and hopefully we're doing a good job, Sal. That's what we try to do. I never come on here and try to blow smoke up anybody's third point of contact or anything like that, but try to do the best we can. I want everybody to realize how bad the media is. I'm going to play a clip right now, and you can catch the video on the video page at steelcityresistance.com, and you'll be able to see that every clip embedded in this group of clips is from the next month. In other words, it starts, I'm not sure the exact month that it starts, 2016, late 2016 or early 2017. But every clip is from the next month. I put a little music behind it because it's so communist.
If he takes the risk of going to trial and he's convicted, that could be seen as an impeachable offense.
If Trump were caught on a video camera snorting
was
cocaine
like
in the White House,
January.
maybe
This
with
is
one of his
February.
children, there was at least a chance he'd be impeached.
If he's not a legitimately elected president in your mind, there are tools that Congress has.
I don't see how that wouldn't be an impeachable offense.
That tweet fits the Republican definition of an impeachable offense more fully than what Bill Clinton was actually impeached for.
Impeachment is very difficult.
Grounds for impeachment. It's an impeachable offense.
Perhaps impeachable offense.
Is impeachment the appropriate remedy?
Something for the Congress like impeachment.
All of that may be impeachable.
That's an impeachable offense.
Is that an impeachable offense?
Is that an impeachable offense to you?
He's much more vulnerable to impeachment.
A potential ingredient of impeachment.
Where do you see an impeachable offense?
It is grounds for impeachment.
Potentially criminal or even impeachable.
Grounds for impeachment, or does that not go far enough in your view?
Grounds for impeachment. This tweet alone may be an impeachable offense.
Let's talk about impeachment.
Impeachment is on the table.
Which impeachable offense is
An impeachable offense?
Do you see an impeachable set of offenses?
It's an impeachable offense.
If that's not impeachable, I don't know what is.
The president shall be removed from office on impeachment.
Is it impeachable?
100% is impeachable.
Very substantial evidence that the president is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors.
Grounds for impeachment.
Tipping point. Talk of impeachment reaches a fever pitch on Capitol Hill. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi under growing pressure from her own party.
Here we go again.
So all I can say is the people that believe the corporate media in America are stupid. How else could you say it, Sal? I mean, that started the month that he was elected president, and each clip was of the next month. In other words, that was from 2017 till now. That wasn't clips that were played in the last 2 weeks. That has been the entire presidency of Donald Trump. It's criminal. It is criminal.
It is. And, going back to one of those clips before about those commentators about pushing back. Who started that pushing back? We got to push back at them. Maxine Waters, remember her talking about that? We got to find them and push them back.
Oh,
it's
crazy.
Remember that?
Yes.
It's the exact.
Impeach 45. Impeach 45.
Yeah, it's the exact thing that they are accusing the right and conservatives doing that they're doing. It's crazy. It's almost in everything that they do. And this impeachment stuff, yes, it's been out from day one, and we know it's a bunch of.
Well, let's have a constitutional discussion, and I urge anybody that wants to get in, especially if you're against what I say, to call up at 412-206-6208. I think there has to be a remedy for this. I don't think that the behavior of the corporate media in the United States of America today warrants First Amendment protection. As far as, I'm not talking about freedom of speech. I'm talking about freedom of the press. I don't think that these people should be allowed to call themselves the media or the press, because they're clearly not. They are clearly the propaganda ministers of the Democrat Party. And the country should be protected from that. And we have an FCC that's doing nothing. We have a Republican-controlled Senate, nothing. You've got RSBN banned from YouTube. It's crazy, and I don't believe that the Constitution stops us from fixing this. I don't. This is not truth. This is not free speech. This is propaganda. This is lobbyists that call themselves news organizations that are not news organizations. Your thoughts?
Well, it goes back to, you know what, Hutch? And that's MONEY. and that's what controls it all. So the money, it isn't going to be stopped. I'm sorry. It just, I hear what you're saying. I hear you loud and clear. I don't know if there's much that we can do about it because there's just so much big money behind this. It's controlled by a few people, very few people. And I want to say that we're stuck with this, unfortunately. I think we are really stuck with this. The Fifth Estate has been dead for a while. It's doing a disservice. And I'm trying to think of a remedy, and I just don't know what it is, other than you've really got to be a smart person.
I think there has to be parameters. In other words, I would never condone shutting anybody's speech down. You can say whatever you want. Chris Matthews, you can come out. Rachel Maddow, you can come out and say whatever you want. My point is, I think it's false advertising when MSNBC calls itself a news organization. I just don't think that's true. I don't think they are. And I think that we should be able to either litigate or legislate something where we get some standards where if you are caught concocting and broadcasting a lie that you knew was a lie, there has to be consequences for that. There has to be. I mean, we've got an entire venue of information, actually all the information except for us, that is against the Constitution, and we can't fix that? What do you think, Marlene? I'm curious.
Well, I agree with you. I honestly do think that the mainstream media is a bunch of baloney, and I think that their standards have gone literally out the window. They don't have them anymore. Many, many years ago when, maybe before you and I were born, they may have had them then, but they sure as hell don't have them now. It's like they can say whatever the heck they want to say, and they don't care.
No, standards.
They don't get away with it.
Hey, Marlene, standards. Let's define what standards are. They have no integrity. They have no morals.
Exactly.
They are spineless, soulless. Whatever else you want to call them. They are empty human beings.
See, I just think they're employees. I think they're employees of the Democrat Party. I just don't think that the president said it very well, that there's no difference between these media companies, including Fox News, than any other lobbyists on K Street. They're the same thing. They're a giant lobby, a giant super PAC that's getting this money.
They are.
And again, I don't want to see them shut up. I just want to see them stripped of their title as news. I think if you want to tune in and you want to listen to the Communist Manifesto, then you can go to MSNBC's propaganda station, and it should be labeled that.
Or any of the other propaganda stations.
Yeah. I mean, there should be a standard.
That isn't.
The truth.
That's what I'm kind of getting at. Yeah, there should be some kind of a standard, some kind of something that says, these are the bare basics that you have to follow. But I don't see that happening.
We already said that you can't yell fire in a theater. Why can't we say that you can't propagandize and call yourself news? It's common sense.
Exactly.
Are we that paralyzed? Are we that caught up in fear as a Republican Party that we can't fight back? And I disagree with that. I don't think we are. I think we can fight back, and I think we better.
We can fight back too. Heck yes.
So what's going on out in your neck of the woods? What's on your mind?
Other than that, I got a good one. This came in. What was it? I think Monday. But I was just. I thought it was kind of interesting. It has to do with football and a little bit of politics thrown in. Anyway,
naturally.
Of course. Wonderful California Governor Gavin Newsom took action on Monday that could disrupt the college sports system when he signed a bill into law that allows college athletes to hire agents and make money from endorsements like professionals. Apparently, it won't take effect until 2023. However, The industry professionals in Oregon say the shift could spur change in the complicated ecosystem, that's the sports business world, and it could mean impacts to college players like up at the U of O here. And basically, the new California law changed the state's education code to note that any college or post-secondary institution cannot prevent a student athlete from earning compensation off their name or likeness, just like the pros do. And they say that it's not allowed to affect the student's scholarship eligibility, nor can a scholarship be revoked if the athlete gets money. And it also outlines that a student can have agent representation, and that no group can prevent a student from profiting off his or her likeness, including the NC2A, which is named in the bill. And then mentions, too, that it goes against the rules of the NC2A, and they wanted Newsom to veto it. The Pac-12 was against it, too, because they think that, it's also announced signing the decision to sign the bill, noting the conference was disappointed, believes it will have significant negative consequences for student athletes, according to Andrew Walker, one of the spokespersons. And he said the legislation will lead to professionalization of college sports and many unintended consequences. And then finally, he says,
Marlene, there's a similar bill that is being considered here in Pennsylvania.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, right after the California bill.
Right, and I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see a groundswell of this throughout the United States, because why would you want to play in another state where you could get paid in some other state? What's the bottom line here? And I'll let you continue on if you want to, is that, obviously this is going to end up in the courts. The courts are going to end up deciding this. And right. I frankly don't know what the outcome is. I think we're in kind of a, novel area here where the court's going to have to make a decision, because this is all new. And, my personal perspective is that if you get a scholarship to go to a school,
you already got paid.
You're getting paid. You're darn right, Hutch. You're getting paid. Not only are you getting paid, you're getting an education for the four-letter word, F-R-E-E. Free.
No kidding.
Free.
Now you think about the bad behavior that you've seen in professional sports and even college sports. As a matter of fact, even high school sports. When you treat these kids like prima donnas, you know what you get? Mm-hmm. You get Ben Roethlisberger. That's what you get.
Well,
you get a guy that thinks he's so good and so royal that he can rape a woman in a Georgia bathroom, in a bar bathroom, in a college town, and you're a Super Bowl hero. You could have any woman in the world, not every woman, but you could have your choice on the up and up if you had some kind of upbringing. But no, you got to go to a Georgia college. That made me so mad, Sal. I wanted that guy gone. I still want him gone.
It's going to cause this false sense of entitlement.
Yep.
And
exactly.
This, athletes, of course, yes, they have a special God-given talent. That God-given talent has allowed them to pursue a sport, and it allows a lot of people to get into schools. Maybe they wouldn't have a chance to get into the schools. But as far as colleges are, I don't want to say profiting, but a lot of these programs are big money. Where does the big money go? Well, it usually goes back into the institution.
That's what it does here. It goes back into college.
The only thing that these college, unfortunately, some of these college coaches are put on pedestals almost like gods.
Have you seen their salaries?
No kidding.
And that's where I'm going.
The biggest salary at the University of Pittsburgh is Narducci, is the football coach.
Yeah, and
the second biggest salary is the basketball coach.
Should those coaches be put on pedestals like that themselves? We got to think of what's really important here. The institution itself is more important to give people educations, even though But
even on the sports world, even on the sports side, Sal, You look at the NCAA, because that's who's going to fight it. Because if this happens, you know who's going to get hurt. States like Oregon is going to get hurt.
Oh yeah.
States like Iowa. States like because
guess,
nobody's going to go to those schools.
Well, guess who else it's going to hurt likely? The people who watch it.
Right, because there's not going to be the NCAA will not ever be the same. There'll be powerhouses. That's right. There'll be powerhouses in the money centers, and everybody else is going to starve.
Wait until the price of those tickets go up to where.
Oh, they've already gone up out here. But it'll get worse.
Yeah. Just wait until the price of those tickets go up to whereby a normal fan won't be able to go see the game.
And let me personify that and tell you that in Pittsburgh, to get a season tickets for the Steelers takes 10 years on a waiting list, and then you have to purchase a lease for the seat, and then you have to pay for the tickets.
Oh my God!
And it's exorbitant. But
you have to get a PFL.
But you can get season tickets for the University of Pittsburgh Panthers for $200-300. You know, let them jack that up, and the regular guy's not going to the game anymore. It's just not going to happen.
I kind of wonder if that's already happened out here in Oregon, Hutch, because I can remember back when I used to go watch the Ducks play when they were not a football team. In the old days, it used to be relatively cheap. You could get a family, I think it was a family package for under $100. It was like $60-some, really cheap.
For like 5 games or however many home games there are. Yeah,
5 or 6 games or whatever. And it was cheap. But now, my God, you've got to pay up the wazooey just for season tickets. And that's not including the fact that they have a mandatory minimum donation to the university.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
I know.
To the athletic program, plus the cost of your season tickets. And then you got to pay for, then if you really want to shell out bazools, then you got to go pay for parking.
And don't try to get a beer.
That's it. Oh, don't even, I know. But even paying for parking is absolutely insane. My dad does that, and I don't know why the hell he does it, but he can. He wants to. That's fine. I don't care. But parking passes.
It's still kind of reasonable, as opposed to an NFL situation. It's still kind of affordable. I mean, I love college football games. Sal, I tell you, you know the deal. That's a big deal around here. We're talking about. My son contacted me last week and said, "Hey, we ought to." He calls me Pops. We ought to start a tradition. We ought to start a tradition that me and him and his son, who's like 12 minutes old, he's a couple months old. Start going to Pitt football games. And I was like, all right, we could do that.
You guys should. That would be such a blast.
I went with my dad. I mean, that was back.
We used to go when I was a kid. We all used to go to the Duck game.
There you go.
We had a great time.
All right, Marlene, final comments.
Well, finally, comments. I just, I'm having a great time listening to this, and I guess the only other thing I could think of offhand was that little old Nancy Pelosi, I think she's just paying lip service to her little snide comment about how she's going to pray for the president. Yeah, right.
Yeah, really. She doesn't pray for all the abortions that she's allowed to occur, or the destruction of one of the most beautiful cities in the United States of America. What a shame for San Francisco. I visited there in 1980. I was there in 1985, and it was one of the most impressive places that I've ever been in my life. It was beautiful. The weather was good. It was
early mid-90s. Not too long after I'd gotten married, and my hubby and I, we went down there. We had a fantastic time.
Man, the weather. It was February when I was there, and I had just come back from Korea, and it was like, all right, let's go there. And I did, and I had like $1,800 of 1985 money in my pocket. It was like, I got enough money, so I'll go down there. And there was a Korean soldier, not a Katusa, not a Korean Army soldier. He was a U.S. Army soldier that was Korean. And he was my friend at the unit, and he said I could. He lived in San Francisco. He let me stay at his place for a week or two, and man, I had a blast. It was great, man.
I love it. I used to love it down there. It was fun.
It was. All right. Thanks for calling, Marlene, and we'll catch you on Friday probably.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to California, and let's welcome Rocky to the program. Hello, Rocky. Haven't heard you for a while.
Hey, Hutch. Hey, Sal. Well, you're kind of talking about uniforms and stuff, so I figured I'd call and congratulate the Army in retiring the ACU, the ugliest military uniform in history.
The most comfortable, though. Didn't have to, they took all the standards down. I'm sitting here right now, and I have a closet, because I'm a retired Army officer, ladies and gentlemen, 35 years, if you didn't listen to the show till now. I have a closet upstairs with an entire outfit of things to polish my boots. And for the last 5 years of my tour, there was no boots to polish anymore. And there was nothing to starch. I had to throw all my starch away because they got these Viet Cong looking pajama ACUs that Rocky's talking about, which you guys were a little slow. You stayed on the sand color for a while there, but yours weren't that much different.
Well, we didn't spend $5 billion in research like the Army. Actually, we came out with the Marine Digi pattern before, and the Army was kind of mad they couldn't use it because they hid these tiny little Eagle Globe and anchors in the Marine uniforms.
Well, that's what you can do that kind of thing when there's only 20,000 troops. But go ahead.
Yeah, that was it.
I snorted. I actually snorted. So what else is going on in the wild world of California in your perimeter?
Not a whole lot. The weather's been nice. We got a little bit of rain. So it's been pretty good.
How about the support for our excursions going forward? Pretty amazing.
When I got that email last night, I saw it right when you said it.
Ladies and gentlemen, what I did, if you're a Cold War Radio patron, and if you want to be a Cold War Radio patron, go to SteelCityResistance.com or either follow Rocky's lead in the chat room. He runs our chat room. But I sent a message to all of our patrons yesterday, letting them know where we were. I said this at the top of the hour, financially, and we've been blessed. There's a certain listener out there that, I sit here and I try to figure out, what's coming up, and I look at our team and who could potentially, want to travel or things like that. And it just makes it so easy when I don't have to worry about the financial end of it. And somebody realized that and got on board, and man, Mona's going to the Values Voters Summit, and we're going to CPAC. And that's God bless America, God bless our patrons, and God bless our audience. Please share the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to grow this audience because I know that there are many more great people out there, and this is not to take away from anyone who does not have the resources that some of you guys have at all, because we've all been there. And I couldn't do this without the support of just you listening to the show, not necessarily contributing. But if I ever come up here, and Rocky's heard me say this in private conversations, and some of the rest of you have also, if I ever come to this show and nobody's listening, I'm turning off the power switch right then. It's getting turned off, and you'll never hear from me again. Because I can't do that. I can't talk and don't think anybody's listening. You know what I mean, Rocky? It's nice to have the support.
It motivates the hell out of me that we've got supporters like that. Just so everybody knows, I don't make a penny off what I do. So
that's true.
But it really motivates me. We've got such great people in the audience that are willing to dig down and do great things like that.
And as we move forward, I told you before, Rocky, we're going to expand this thing at some point in time. But I think right now we were struggling there for a little bit, but right now we're back on the trend to greatness, if you will. And I'm very excited. I am. And so I want to thank everybody that's allowing that to happen. And I especially want to thank you, Rocky, in there in the chat room. I mean, we had the WHBJ thing, and it was a successful test, but we're not ready to do it yet. And we will be someday, but I'm building the team. We'll get there.
Yeah, that's good. That's, I really did want to say thanks again to everybody in the audience and who just listens to the show, supports it, shares it. You're
all right.
Making it happen.
It is our lifeblood. You're right about that.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Rocky. Good night.
Thanks, Rocky. Sal, let's go back to the story in Fairfax, Virginia. But before we do that, let's listen to retired ICE Director Homan.
Tom, if you were right here, we'd buy you a cup of coffee.
That'd be nice, because no one's giving me any coffee this morning.
Wow.
It's pretty early.
What's going on in that bureau?
Yeah, who are you blaming for that?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to have a story that I know is going to take you off. A lack of cooperation that we hear has been dished out by mayors in certain cities, liberal cities across the country. Well, it reared itself in Fairfax, Virginia. They suspended a police officer for get this, turning in an illegal immigrant over to ICE. Can you wrap your head around that?
No, I can't. It's totally disgusting. Here's a police officer responding to a traffic accident caused by an illegal alien that has no driver's license, has no insurance. He ran him through the system. There's an outstanding warrant from ICE because he's in the country legally. He's a fugitive from justice because he didn't show up in court. The cop was being a cop. And for the chief to suspend him, maybe the chief ought to remember what it's like to be a cop. Because the chief stopped being a cop and he made that decision. He became a politician. It's disgusting. What's happening in Chicago is the same thing. The most violent city in the country, and their mayor wants police to walk away from other police. And ICE has arrested many criminals off the streets of Chicago. She ought to be sending a letter of thank you, not telling her police officers to walk away from ICE. It's disgusting.
Well, the Fairfax Police Chief Edwin Rosler Jr. had the statement regarding this, and he said, this is an unfortunate issue where the officer was confused. We have trained on this issue a lot. This is the first time we've had a lapse in judgment, and the officer is being punished. Okay, that's from the top cop there. But in addition to being punished, Tom Homan, he's also being retrained. Ugh.
Well, first of all, he's not the top cop. He's a politician because he stopped being a cop and made that decision. The only confusion here is the chief forgot what it's like to be on the streets and protect the communities. ICE is helping him. You know how many criminal aliens ICE has taken off the streets of Fairfax? Law enforcement is supposed to work on law enforcement. That's what this is about, to keep the community safe. ICE is not the bad guy. If that warrant would have been from the FBI or DEA or from another county, another city, this wouldn't be a story today. He would have been turned over. This is all because it's the political theater of immigration enforcement, and that chief and that city council, they're politicians. And again, the community comes second. Politics comes first.
You know what really makes me mad in that story, though, Tom? It's the fact that here's this officer. Taxes are being pulled out of his paycheck. He's putting his life on the line every single day. He gets punished, but that illegal immigrant gets to walk free, and there's no punishment for him.
Fantastic point. And I've been saying over and over again, this world's upside down when those who illegally enter that country in violation of law, who knowingly violate our law, all of a sudden they're the victims, and the ones who enforce law are the bad guys. I don't know where we're at in this country. Thank God we got a president who's trying to turn it back around the way it should be. But it's totally disgusting. It's unbelievable. And I read the story. I had to read it 3 or 4 times. I couldn't believe the decision made by that chief.
Sal, I just hope that the president understands the gravity of the personality traits that we need to carry on after he is finished. And that probably Mike Pence is not going to be capable of being that guy. And Tom Homan and Steve Miller and some of the rest of these people are capable of carrying that mantle. This guy is a national treasure. Your story.
Yeah, he's fantastic. But let's just dig into the story a little bit more. And a lot of people may not know this, but the Fairfax County Police Department enacted this policy in 2007. Can you believe that? It's unbelievable. So they've been able to have their way since 2007 to do almost just about whatever they want to there, and they have immunity. Even though they're criminals, even though they shouldn't be here, they have pretty much what I would consider immunity. Nothing happens to them. You're not allowed to do anything to them.
And then you see Eric Holder come out yesterday and say that the Attorney General of the United States needs to be perceived as impartial. As Eric Holder described himself as Obama's wingman. Unbelievable. Continue.
So, as Holman said, this is upside down. It's backwards, not only for the people in law enforcement, but for the people who are actually citizens of the United States.
Or citizens of Fairfax. I mean, can you imagine?
What's going on in Fairfax County? That's what I want to know. Are people for this or not? What can they do about it? I'd like to hear from, I'd like to see what the people of Fairfax County say about this, and how many other incidents have happened that sort of have gone under the radar.
And I don't want to see any. I don't want to see an interpreter either. No, I want to see somebody that can speak English.
Right. I would imagine that there's been a lot more of this. We just haven't heard about it because
I agree.
Maybe this police officer was just, just downright frustrated by it. And
could be.
Maybe he didn't make a mistake.
Well, when you pull up, you pull up to an accident, and I you have the article. Were there casualties? Was anybody killed?
No one was killed, but there was.
But they were hurt.
Accident. And
they were hurt.
Someone's going to be paying for this.
And guy came up and he said, "No habla, no license, no license." And the cop's like, "What? You just caused all this, and you don't even have a driver's license, and you can't speak English?" 1-800-ICE, and he gets suspended.
Yeah, and not only that, the driver was released from federal custody 3 hours.
Of course he was.
After, in order to wear an ankle monitor. What the heck's going on here?
It's unreal.
It's crazy.
I've never seen so many Americans, and I'm talking about you people in the Democrat Party that have lost your damn minds or don't have a mind. Really, I don't think that it's a conscious decision, Sal, because we live in the swamp. Let's just face it. And when you look to your left and you look to your right when you're out in public, these people aren't thinking about politics, man. They're not even thinking about anything serious. The people that live in these leftist cities are doing their own thing, but they're still allowed to weigh in. And when they do, they use MSNBC, CNN as their points of reference. I've thought about this a lot too, so I really have, because, I started my career in this venue as a comedian, not a comedian, but with a show that was more centered on Pittsburgh than politics. And as I started, doing the show during the Obama campaign, I started getting hate mail, man. Not hate mail, but like bad reviews on iTunes and things like that, which is what made me make the jump to a political show. And then I couldn't do them both at the same time. They were incompatible. But I'm a serious man. And when I look at these things, it's like you have to do something. You can't sit there and take, I don't know, Rachel Maddow's word for stuff. I mean, they're lying. They're not even telling the truth. That's what turned me to Trump. I was not for Trump originally. You know, I thought he was a joke. You can listen to Ward and I talking about it. But when he came in the 2016 campaign, I was for Ben Carson. But then I was listening to Fox News, and every night, Sal, they lied about this guy. I mean, every night they said things and attributed them to him, but he never said that. You know, that's what changed me around. But I don't know. This whole thing, we're upside down. That's what it is. We're upside down. We need to get turned back around.
Yeah, and it's got to stop, you know, and
it does.
Stacy was talking about, you know, people are angry. I'd be angry about this too. It's ridiculous. Why should they have more rights and not be put in jail and thrown out of the country?
Now I'm going to get really angry. This is Cold War Radio, and I should have done this at the top of the show, but I didn't. I saved it for the end. Because we better goddamn sure pay attention to this. And I'm telling you that as a retired United States Army officer. I'm not saying it's the Army's position by any stretch, because I understand the Hatch Act, although I'm not covered by it anymore. China's massive military parade shows Beijing is a military superpower. I want you to listen to the opening paragraph of this because it's real, it's true, and we better pay attention, and we better shut these damn Democrats down. Which Michael Bloomberg said that China's not a dictatorship. They really care about their people. Washington is right to leave a missile-limiting treaty that Beijing won't even consider joining. This is by Andrew S. Erickson. Paramount leader Xi Jinping just presided over the largest, most impressive military parade in the history of the world. The occasion? To commemorate the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, PRC, which just exceeded the Soviet Union's lifespan by 1 year. The parade indeed showcased numerous military, technological accomplishments far exceeding previous Soviet efforts, showing ironclad resolve. Xi emphasized that China continue to strive forward with the complete unification of our country. The bottom line, missiles, missiles, and more missiles. For coercion, coercion, and coercion, paraded ironically down Beijing's Avenue of Eternal Peace. Tradition holds that all systems displayed are already deployed for service in the PLA, the People's Liberation Army. For specialists, this just underscores a long-running PRC effort at missile-centric deterrence. For other observers, the sheer scope and scale of hardware displayed, much of it conveniently labeled with large English letters, may well offer a revelation concerning Beijing's military might and assertiveness. In true PRC fashion, for this national-level effort, nothing was left to chance. China's military parade was patriotically narrated in confident detail on China's Central Television. That's CNN in China. Since 2015, preparations had been underway at facilities designed to mimic the Beijing setting, and the entire pageant was wrapped in redolent rhetoric along the lines of strong country dream, strong military dream. But this was not a case of style and symbolism over substance. The sheer array of real strategic systems on display was simply staggering and shows real strength. Arguably today's biggest single statement for foreign consumption, literally backstopping the entire parade, was China's debut of the DF-41 solid fuel road mobile intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM. China's newest, most powerful, and arguably most advanced nuclear weapon system. The DF-41 has clearly been designed and deployed with deterring the United States in mind. It is described as a cornerstone of China's nuclear weapons power. This is part of Beijing's comprehensive missile-centric effort at nuclear and conventional deterrence. And I'm not going to go any further than that, but what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you that Joe Scumbag Biden and his entire family are why this is happening. And if we don't get to the bottom of that, if this guy gets away with this, and it's not just him, it's Obama too. Obama should be hung by his neck until dead over this. Sal, this is so serious. When you look at Justin Amash in the House, who's a half Syrian, half Palestinian congressman from Michigan, whose family owns a tool company in China, and you hear the revelations that Glenn Beck brought up and is going to do tomorrow at 9:30 about Biden's company providing access to machining technology in the United States to go to companies that build these kind of missiles, we better get serious and we better do it pretty soon.
Sure, and I have some more facts here. People don't realize the capabilities of China. They've landed a space rover on the moon. They are a world leader in artificial intelligence. It's also a big home to the world's corporate unicorns. And do you know what startup unicorns are? Companies worth more than $1 billion. China's building a giant tech hub comprising of 11 cities to rival Silicon Valley.
And we've got YouTube here that is censoring the RSBN network. Think about that.
Right. And so 1/3 of the world's new vegetation is planted in China. How about that? So China, what do we hear the past two and a half years? What do we hear? What's the one word? Russia.
Right. Ukraine.
Russia.
And Ukraine. I don't want to hear about Ukraine anymore. I want to hear about China.
Yeah. What's that's a potential major threat to us. Absolutely. And let's maybe hope that the president can reach a trade agreement with the Chinese. And if he does, I think it really will help the economy.
As long as we realize that they're our enemy. I mean, you have to understand some of the realities of the world we live in. How many years was it? 30 years that China had the one-child program? And
they are starting to close that gap.
Right, but there's so many military-aged males in China with no possibility of getting a female mate because so many female babies were killed and murdered during this time because in the Chinese and most Oriental traditions, males are more valuable than females. We've got a glut of military-aged males in the military in China right now, and the economy is stammering because the president of the United States is reshuffling the economic cards, man. I mean, they're hurting economically. We are in serious, I don't want to say serious danger, but by God, the Pentagon better be paying attention to the potential of this economic correction that we need being backed up by the U.S. military. And you listen to Nancy Pelosi and these people and even the Republicans. I mean, Lindsey Graham, can you think of a bigger clown to be our champion? A 5-foot tall queer dude is going to be our champion? No, I don't think so. I shouldn't have said that, but I did. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's serious threat. They need to be taken seriously. This Russia stuff has to stop. All this other stuff is a big distraction. It really takes us away from what we need to do here to really get ourselves aligned to be in a good space to protect ourselves. But hey, one more story. I think you got to watch it, and it shows the power of God. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to that story in Dallas where the police woman shot the man in the apartment, but the brother of the man who was murdered forgave the policeman.
How about that? I saw that. That was heartwarming.
Video. Take a couple minutes out and watch the video. It's the amazing power of God and the potential for redemption. So please take a couple minutes. Really shook me up when I watched that video. And everyone, take care.
All right, Sal. Thanks for coming on the show tonight. Your final comments, and how can people get in touch with you?
All right, you can reach me at Twitter at Sal, S-A-L, at A-T-C-W-R at Twitter. And I hope you talk to everyone real soon.
All right, great job tonight. Please support rsbn.bandcamp. Wait a minute, let me get this right. rsbnmusic.bandcamp.com. I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to help RSBN. I'm going to try to help them. We'll figure that out as we go. Thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. The Wednesday Briefing. Weekend Review coming up on Friday with Jack. Looking forward to the future of the show. I'm just feeling good right now. We've got a lot of momentum behind us. I would ask you to please share the show. That's the most important thing. Man, we need more listeners. We're starting to move up, but I want to get up even more. I mean, this is the time for us, the new media, this legacy media, man, they're crashing and burning. What a waste at Fox News. What a waste. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am Hutch Bailey Jr. in studio number 1 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thanks for letting us into your life for a couple hours. I love all you guys. God bless. Going with a new outro. Also from Jacob Seals. Also at rsbnmusic.bandcamp.com. You'll hear it. It involves never losing faith.
a killing machine with a need to bleed you when the light goes green. Best believe I'm in the zone to be. From a yin to my yang to Z. Put a grin on my skin when you come to me, cause I'll win, I'm a one of a kind, and I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in a fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me whole. I feed on the fear of the devil inside of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a warrior, this is my song.
I am a warrior and this is my song. I'm basking in the glow of the rising war. Lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore. Wait for the blood spilled on the floor. And if another one stands, I'll kill some more. Bullet in the breach and a fire in me, like a cigarette thrown to gasoline. If death don't bring you fear, I swear you'll fear these marching feet. Come to the nightmare, come to me. Deep down in the dark where the devil be. In the mall where the jaws and the razor teeth, where the brimstone burns and the angel weeps. Crawl to the gods of across your path, and my silhouette hangs like a body bag. Hope is a moment now long past. The shadow of death is the one I cast. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song. My eyes are steel and my gaze is long. I am a warrior and this is my song.
We're not just going to shoot the bastard. We're going to cut out their living guts and use them to grease the treads of our tanks. We're going to murder those lousy bastards by the bushel.
Now I live lean, I mean to inflict the grief, and the least of me is still out of your reach. The killing machine's gonna do the deed until the river runs dry and my last breath leaves. Stand in the air with a head held high, I'll stand in the path of the enemy line. Feel no fear, know my pride. For God and country, I'll end your life. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song. My eyes are steel and my gaze is long. I am a warrior and this is my song.
All right, now you sons of bitches, you know how I feel.
You know what? You know what people want to know? They want to know when someone's going to jail. I tell people that's the question. More often than not, when I'm walking through an airport or something, people walk up to me. When is somebody going to jail for the wrongdoing that took place in the Trump-Russia investigation or even the Clinton investigation?